everyone. Today I thought I would do a short video on playwriting. This is something that various people have requested. For now I'm responding to one of the latest comments, which was how I got into playwriting in the first place. When I was 5 years old, my parents took me to the local village hall. I grew up in a village in the countryside. There was no theatre. And the local amateur dramatic society presented The Wizard of Oz, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was magic, and when it ended I burst into tears because I wanted to live in the world on the stage with all these wonderful characters rather than in the real world. And so when people asked me what I was going to be when I grew up, I said I'm going to be an actor. And since the only drama school I'd heard of was RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, which is a sort of very old established drama school here in London, I said I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to go to RADA. And people kind of smiled at me indulgently because lots of people audition for RADA and not many get in. But with the arrogance of youth, or the naivety probably, I just thought, no, that's what I'm going to do. So when I was 17, I auditioned for RADA and I got in. So I moved to London to start the 3-year course, and I absolutely hated it. So this is a big sort of crisis moment. And I think what I didn't like was that I realised quite quickly that as an actor you're basically powerless. You have to sit around waiting for someone to ask you to come and audition for their show. Also, as a female actor, I could see that the parts were much smaller than they were for the men, and there were fewer parts for women than there were for men. And mostly I'd be auditioning to be someone's girlfriend or a prostitute. Those were really the two options for young actresses. And then as you got older, you might get to audition to be the wife or the mother. There obviously are exceptions to that. There are some plays with great roles for females, and more in the last few years have been written. But it was still pretty dispiriting. I thought, no, I want to have more control over my life than an actor does. So at the age of 19, when I was still at drama school, I decided I would start my own theatre company. And I decided I would direct the first show that we produced. So I did a call for new scripts. And the scripts came in and I read them, and they were all dreadful, and the roles for women were all dreadful. So I quickly decided that my theatre company would only produce plays that had equal casting at least, so there were at least as many women in the cast as there were men, and the roles for everyone had to be decent roles. And I thought, well, bloody hell, surely even I've got to be able to write something better than what I've read. So I'm not being arrogant here, the stuff I was sent was really awful. So I knew there's a well-known new writing theatre here in London called the Royal Court Theatre, and I saw that they had a young writers group, and so I seem to remember I stayed up for 3 days and nights and wrote a play. Don't know why I did it like that, but that's what I did. And it was a very strange play about what would happen if Joan of Arc was reincarnated now. I wrote that slightly odd play, and I sent it to the Royal Court Theatre, and they asked me to come and join their Young Writers programme. We had some great teachers. There were a couple of really good playwrights who taught us. One, so Hanif Qureshi taught one of our 10-week groups, who's a well-known novelist and playwright and screenwriter, and that was fantastic. And whilst I was doing the Young Writers programme, I wrote a play about bipolar disorder, and the Royal Court didn't produce that, but by that point I had joined Soho Theatre Young Writers Programme. Mm-hmm. I worked with a wonderful woman called Lisa Goldman, who was running her own theatre company at the time, and she's also a brilliant director. She really liked my script, and she helped me to develop it, and then she showed it to the literary manager of Soho Theatre, and so Soho Theatre optioned the play, which means that they give you some money and then they have the option to produce it within a 2-year period. And so they produced Bright, which was my first full-length play to be produced, And yeah, that was a success. And so I wrote to literary agents and asked them to see the show. I just asked around at the theatre and teachers at my old drama school to see who was a reputable literary agent. So I invited some of them to the show, and then I signed on with one of them, and yeah, that's how I became a professional playwright. So since then, I try to only work on commission, which is that someone has actually asked me to write a play on a particular subject, or I've gone to them with an idea and they've given me some money to go off and write a first draft. I try not to write plays on spec. And so I've worked for various theatre companies over the years. I've run my own company, which I can talk about in another video if anyone's interested. Yeah, I don't have an acting agent and I don't look for acting work, but if a friend asks me to do something, or there's something that I really want to produce and be in, then I do that. And I've done some fun, silly cabaret projects over the years as well, like doing a Debbie Harry musical and a kind of cabaret version of Midsummer Night's Dream, and I was Prince Charming in a pantomime at the gay club that my friend runs. And so I've done some, and I did a show about Nico from the Velvet Underground and Valerie Solanas, the woman who shot Andy Warhol. I wrote that and then I played Nico in it as well. But mostly how I earn my living is through being a playwright. Sometimes I've taught writing workshops for adults or young people, and sometimes I've directed. So really, I make theatre in various ways. And final thing, playwriting is a really solitary profession. Obviously, it's mostly just me sat in front of a computer, and then it suddenly becomes social once the play goes into rehearsal and you're working with a group of actors and a director. To a lesser or greater degree, some directors are very generous and they like me to be there and they like me to be involved. Some directors are not and don't want me to be there very much. So, but compared to being a performer or compared to really any other job, writing is quite a lonely world. Obviously, when I'm not writing, I will hang out with friends, I'll go out and socialise, anything to get me away from the flat and the computer. But yeah, I still feel that I'm not really a natural playwright in terms of the lifestyle. It just is quite solitary, and I'm not a very solitary person. So at the moment, I'm looking into ways that I can do some more performing, reboot my theatre company and direct again, and just basically work more collaboratively, which is the part of theatre that I really enjoy. If there's anything else that you would like to know about playwriting, please leave me a comment down below and I will then make another video or two. Thanks for watching.